Pranam, Krishna Kumari and Hari Priya. So we are streaming and recording, right? Yeah.
Turn up the light, it's just shading.
I think it's too dark. So. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Siddhantotpala Saranityarasikam Angsam Vilasatmakam Audaryakya Sudhama Sevaka Dhanam Vishramba Bhakti Pradam Yacha Yukti Vichakshanam Tvaghabido Vaishishta Shaktya Sada Vandeham Tripurari Namaka Yatim Shri Bhakti Vedantinam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Swami Shri Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupadaya Te Namaha Gurvagyam Shirasi Dratvam Shaktya Swarupine Hare Krishneti Mantrena Paschatya Prachatarine Vishvacharya Prabharyaya Divya Karunya Murtaye Shri Bhagavata Madhurya Gita Jnana Pradayine Gaura Shri Rupa Siddhanta Saraswati Nishevine Radha Krishna Padam Bhoja Bringaya Gurave Namaha Devam Divyatanum Suchandavadanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Shri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhaktila Sitam Sarasvatanam Varam Vandetam Shubhadam Madeka Sharanam Nyasishwaram Sridharam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Godadaye Pushpavanto Chitro Sangdo Tamonodo Shri Shri Gaura Nityananda Ki Jai. So welcome to part 2 of As the Sun Rises and Sets, Gaudiya Vaisnavism Goes West. So in the first part, I was talking mainly about Anartha Nivritti as what comes to my mind when I think of Gaudiya Vaishnavism going to the West is conversion, like it's kind of the amazing thing of people in the West converting to a tradition from the other side of the world. But as Gaudiya Vaishnavism is something that doesn't come from the world at all, it's something otherworldly. That means that also people in India are going to have to convert to it, even if it appears in their own culture. So everyone has to go, everyone, whether they're in the West or born in India, they have to go through Anartha Nivritti, which is conversion. Like converting from our worldly beliefs into transcendental faith. So this time I want to talk a little bit about how Gaudiya Vaishnavism came from the other world into this world, and then kind of how it formed into a movement through literature and the different lineages forming. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is one of these very important literatures that kind of, as my Guru Maharaj says, institutionalizes Gaudiya Vaishnavism in a soft form, meaning formalizing it into books, whereas there is the hard institutionalization, which is opening temples and preaching and so on. So in this Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj, who is a disciple of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who is a disciple of Swarup Damodar, and both of them, Swarup Damodar and Sri Raghunath, direct associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is brought out Mahaprabhu's reasons for coming to this world, and it is related to the earlier Krishna Lila, which appeared on earth earlier at the end of the previous age. It is described how Krishna is reciprocating with all his devotees, and he is able to reciprocate according to how they approach him. And like he promises in the Bhagavad Gita, as you approach me, I will, like as much as you give yourself to me, I will give myself to you. And but when it comes to his most intimate devotees in his own birth village, Vrindavan, the gopis there are worshipping him in a way that it goes beyond his ability to reciprocate. Krishna says to the gopis, I'm not able to repay you for your devotional activities. So you have to let your own deeds be their own rewards. It is said like that sometimes in English, that love is its own reward. So Krishna is saying that. And and there is also a kind of, because in Sanskrit there is always hidden meanings, like layers of meaning. So commentators have brought out more messages in what Krishna is saying there to the gopis. The Bhagavatam verse goes like this: Na parayeham niravadya samyujam svashadu krityam vibudayushapiva yama bhajan durjaya geha shrinkala sambrischa tadva pratyatu sadhana. So he's like one detail that's also brought out there is that the gopis are giving up their families to come to Krishna, but Krishna can't give up his family, like he can't give up his parents, but the gopis are running away from everything to be with him. But one thing that is brought out by Sanatana Goswami in his commentary is that so like I can't repay you personally, but maybe if I appear in the world as a preacher and I recruit devotees for you, then maybe like in that way I can repay my debt. So that is this verse is it shows the origin of Gaura Lila, of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, the reason for his descent. And it also connects us very, very intimately to Krishna, because Krishna has come to this world to recruit devotees for his devotees, to recruit servants of Srimati Radharani and the gopis. So there's a verse kind of elaborating on this Naparayeham verse from the Bhagavatam, which I believe the verse is from Swarup Damodar, and it is cited by Krishnadas Kaviraj in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It goes, Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Svadyo Yanadbhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadiya Sokyam Chasya Madanubhavataha Kidrishi Veti Lobhat Tadbhavadya Samajani Shachi Garbha Sindho Harindu. So there it's very specifically brought out what it is that Krishna finds mysterious about the gopis' love, that he's coming to the world to experience. So there are the two sides here. Krishna is coming to, for the two reasons. He can't repay the gopis. He can't fully grasp the gopis' love, and of course, consequently, he feels that he cannot repay it. So those are the two sides. So one thing is, one side of the reasons for his coming to this world as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is for his own sake, for his own experience. And then where he kind of also pulls us in is that he's engaging us in helping him to repay his debt to the gopis and Srimati Radharani in particular. But on this more, so it's all, because sometimes it is talked about as some internal reasons and then the external reason being preaching about the holy name and how we can attain perfection and join Krishna Lila. But that is like also the so-called external reason is very internal as well, since it is he's kind of linking us in with his own personal kind of need for coming. So, but on the side of what it is that he's trying to grasp, there are three distinct desires that he has of kind of aspects that he's trying to experience, and the first one is the glory of Srimati Radharani's love, like the greatness of Srimati Radharani's love, how noble and high it is. It is just like beyond him. And the second is to experience himself from her vantage point, because this is also how my Guru Maharaj explains it, that he calls this moment in Krishna Lila, he calls it Krishna's identity crisis, because Krishna is one epithet for Krishna is Rasaraj, so the Lord of Rasas. But here's a rasa that he cannot fathom. So then his position is kind of in question. But as Guru Maharaj then brings out, Krishna is thinking no, but he's like doubting if he's really God. If he doesn't have a grasp on everything, is he really God? But then he thinks, but yes, I am God, because the reason that Srimati Radharani and the gopis are the way they are is because of me. It's something in me that makes them like that. So, but still, he cannot understand what that is in himself. So that is the second thing. So the first, the nobility and greatness of Srimati Radharani's love, and then the second thing, the qualities in himself that only they can experience from their vantage point. And then the third thing is the love that Radha is experiencing when she is realizes Krishna's love, like when Srimati Radharani is feeling Krishna's love for her, the joy she has in that. When she feels that, which is I guess all the time. That is the third thing. So the nobility of her love, the experiences in himself that only she can experience, that only she can perceive, and then the happiness she feels when she feels his love for her. So that, and to be able to repay, to kind of reciprocate with their love, he's also recruiting devotees for them. So with all these, out of all these desires, it is said, for example, when a human being, when any living being takes birth, it is due to their karma, but like what is driving it is their desire, their desire to experience. Our desire is driving our how our body is forming in the womb, for example. But in this case here, it's Krishna having these desires that is forming, that is taking form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like it says in the last line of this verse here. It's like with these desires, he takes birth from the womb of Mother Sachi, and it says poetically that it's he arises out of the ocean of Mother Sachi, like the moon. Like if you're standing by the ocean and the moon is rising from the horizon, it is poetically described like that, how Mahaprabhu is taking birth from Mother Sachi. So that is a very ecstatic affair, and it's my Guru Maharaj describes Mahaprabhu as a waterfall, like a very big waterfall, so something that you cannot approach very easily. It's so rushing and forceful and powerful that you have to kind of stand back. But then you have his disciples who are who know, who understand why he has come to this world. Like you have Nityananda Prabhu, you have the 6 Goswamis. They are all coming with Krishna. Krishna is never alone. So when Krishna comes to take birth as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then he comes with all his associates. And whereas in Krishna Lila they are all in Vrindavan, when Mahaprabhu appears, when Krishna appears as Mahaprabhu in Navadvip, then his devotees are scattered out in different places of India, all over India, which is this is interesting here because it's that they are spread out very wide, but all in India. So that there is something special about India, which like there's this culture that comes from the Vedic scriptures. They have many holy places in common. The river Ganges. It's although it's spread out, there's the unity of for example Shastra and a certain type of culture. But my Guru Maharaj is commenting how the reason why when Krishna comes, they're all in the same place, but when Mahaprabhu comes, all the devotees are spread out. It's because Gaura Lila is meant for expansion. It's meant to not just stay in one place, but the idea is that Mahaprabhu should go around, go all around the world. Eventually, there is this prophetic claim by Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Bhagavat that Pritivite achi atta jagaradigram sarvatra prachara hoibe moranam, that all over the world, in every town and village, my holy name will be spread, and my holy name will be sung. So there has been discussion about what he meant by that. Like, did he mean literally the whole world? Of course, Prithvi means the earth. So it could be like literally the whole world. But some are saying maybe it meant like the whole world as they knew it, which was India at that time. But of course, India was also connected with many other places in the world through trade and things like that. And I'm going to bring up some interesting anecdotes later about this. So to formalize so all these like many of these devotees who knew what Mahaprabhu came to this world for kind of helped to formalize that, and especially Jiva Goswami has been singled out that he was putting he was going through all the scriptures and kind of carving out Gaudiya Vaishnavism from them, and this unified and kind of made a movement out of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touched so many people, but it was, as my Guru Maharaj calls it, like this waterfall, that it's like everyone is touched and inspired, but they may not really know know why or like what Mahaprabhu is all about. He's just very inspiring, but people may not know what he is, what he came for, and what his mission is. So eventually, devotees like Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami were kind of formalizing this, and then their disciples were sent from Vrindavan to Bengal to kind of spread this kind of Gaudiya Vaishnavism carved out of the Shastra to unify those who had been touched and inspired by Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And so this this formed a movement, but of course this movement was still very big. And when you have a very big movement in let's say in the 1500s, when people were not connected by like a unifying institution, it was still, it is this kind of soft institution, as my Guru Maharaj has mentioned, institutionalization by literature. Like you may still have many interpretations of those books that were spread, like Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas or and so forth. So after some decades of the Goswami's books being studied, it is said that there was a big meeting on Gora Purnim, 50 years after Mahaprabhu's birth. There was a meeting called the Keturi Gram Festival, which became like a council, meaning that many leading personalities from all around this big movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers were meeting in one place and discussing to kind of establish what will be the orthodox teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. And then there are different versions, because some have said that Krishnadas Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita was already spread as one of those earlier books at the same time as the Goswami's books were spread. But another version is that this is that Chaitanya Charitamrita is kind of part of this. It was a product of this Keturi Gram festival, where it was decided what teachings should be kind of rooted out and which teachings should stay. What are the proper teachings? But in either case, Chaitanya Charitamrita is based on the Goswami's earlier books, on the Sandarbhas, on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and these seminal Gaudiya texts. So Chaitanya Charitamrita has been called like the last word. It is like of course, many more words have been said after that, like they're all the books by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but Chaitanya Charitamrita is kind of it's like definitive Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and whatever comes after that has to kind of conform to that if it's going to be considered orthodox. And we can see also how even though Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wrote so many books after that, he was very true to Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's a story that he was just to show how seriously he took this book. He was writing a commentary on it, and there is a section where the Kama Gayatri is explained, and there's a part where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes that the Kama Gayatri has, now I can't remember the exact detail here, but he says something that it has 25 and a half syllables or something like that. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is counting the syllables and coming to a different conclusion, something that it's 24 syllables or 24 and a half syllables or something. And while I guess an ordinary reader wouldn't care much about that, would just go on to the next page or whatever. But for Vishwanath, he lost sleep over this, and he was researching all kinds of grammar books and things to kind of solve this mystery with the half extra syllable, and when he finally couldn't, then he was prepared to commit suicide. So he was going to drown himself in Radhakund, and but he collapsed on the like on the edge of by the edge of the pond, and then Srimati Radharani came to him in a dream and gave him the reference. Like she directed him to another grammar book, like one of the ones he hadn't looked at, and told him like where the exact reference was in the book, where it was like if this type of syllable follows this type of syllable, then like this connection it makes it so that there is a half extra syllable or something like this, and it's very charming that Srimati Radharani would know such things. Would be like it all seems it's all very, very cryptic, but it shows, like the story shows Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's heart and dedication to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and of course Srimati Radharani's affection for Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as a response to that. So I'm not going to go into at this time in this part the first kind of like the stories of the first preachers going to the West, because that will take one episode in itself. But I wanted to mention some small things of kind of how related things has like made their way around the world, both before Mahaprabhu's appearance and also after. There's an interesting phenomenon. I heard Shripad Bhakti Gaurava Narasingha Maharaj tell this story in a kind of humorous way. There is a word in English called there's the English word juggernaut. So it's spelled Juggernaut, juggernaut, and I'm sure you that it makes you think of Jagannath, and that is where the word comes from. So there was this Catholic monk from the order of Saint Francis, who was traveling in Asia, and this was in the 1300s. So in 1321, he was in Jagannath Puri. So this is like 150 years before Mahaprabhu's birth. And he witnessed the Ratha Yatra festival, and he wrote it down, his experiences from it, and he was talking about how they were putting the deities in the carts and bringing them through the town, and he mentioned how some people would throw themselves under the cart, under the wheels, and get crushed under there, and because they believed that they would attain liberation that way. So when this story reached Europe, this became this was seen as a sort of a kind of horror story, but and the juggernaut became a word for the cart, but like in relation to the cart, it became a word for something big and forceful, crushing everything in its way. So it has become a very widespread word since that time. Like nowadays, you can find rock bands. There's a rock band called Juggernaut. There's a Marvel Comics character called Juggernaut. There's a professional wrestler called Juggernaut. Many other. It's kind of spread out in popular culture and also just in the English language. It's being used still today, after 700 years. And of course, this Jagannath is also Narasingha Maharaja's observation was that Jagannath's name spread all over the world, and this shows the power of the holy name, because even though it was not like well intended really, the name spread everywhere, and he made a connection with how Ratha Yatra later on became like an international festival. Like all over the world, you have Ratha Yatra carts moving through the cities. So first the name appears, and then the form appears. So this shows how powerful the holy name is. And then also in the 1700s, the Bhagavatam came to Europe for the first time. So there was a Christian, an Indian-born man named now I forget his name for the moment, but he was converted into Christianity, and he became the translator for something called the French Company. So he translated the Srimad Bhagavatam into French, and it was published and spread in Europe, where more people knew French than people know French today, but it was a bigger language at that time. And I've heard a story of that Swami Sadananda, the German disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that his parents were quite educated, so he his mother knew French, I believe, and she was reading this French Bhagavatam for him when he was a child, and later on when he came in contact with Bhakti, he told his parents, like when he had to leave home and go to India, he said that it's all your fault. Like you were reading Bhagavatam for me as a child, and now I have to leave. I have to go and find out more about the source of this. So a couple of instances. I'm sure there are more ways that things related to Mahaprabhu and Gaudiya Vaishnavism have kind of contacted other parts of the world outside of India. And if anyone can think of any, you can put a comment on YouTube or comment here or anywhere to fill us all in. So I will stop there for today. I did think actually with this story of the story of Jagannath and people throwing themselves under the cart. Some have reasoned that this monk who was telling the story, he may have exaggerated to kind of make the Indian culture look bad, but we find in Chaitanya Charitamrita that it was actually occurring like that. There is I'm sure this will be brought to mind also when you hear this, but let's see. The story of Sanatan Goswami, when he comes back to Jagannath Puri after a travel, he also wants to throw himself under the Jagannath cart. So I will read this here. It's a brief section. Because of bad water in the Jarikanda forest and because of fasting, Sanatan Goswami contracted a disease that made his body itch. Thus he was afflicted with itching sores from which fluid oozed. In disappointment, Sanatan Goswami considered, I am of a low caste and my body is useless for devotional service. When I go to Jagannath Puri, I shall not be able to see Lord Jagannath, nor shall I always be able to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I have heard that the residential quarters of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are near the temple of Jagannath, but I shall not have the power to go near the temple. The servants of Lord Jagannath generally move about tending to their duties, but if they touch me, I shall be an offender. Therefore, if I sacrifice this body in a good place, my unhappiness will be mitigated and I shall attain an exalted destination. During the Ratha Yatra festival, when Lord Jagannath comes out of the temple, I shall give up this body under the wheel of his car. After seeing Lord Jagannath, I shall give up my body under the wheel of the car in the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This will be the highest benediction of my life. Having made this resolution, Sanatan Goswami went to Nilachala, where he asked directions from people and approached the residence of Haridas Thakur. So here we have Sanatan Goswami's resolve to throw himself under the Jagannath cart. And Mahaprabhu's response to this should satisfy the Christian missionaries. He says, Mahaprabhu says, my dear Sanatan, if I could attain Krishna by committing suicide, I would certainly give up millions of bodies without a moment's hesitation. You should know that one cannot attain Krishna simply by giving up the body. Krishna is attainable by devotional service. There is no other means for attaining him. Acts such as suicide are influenced by the mode of ignorance, and in ignorance and passion, one cannot understand who Krishna is. Unless one discharges devotional service, one cannot awaken one's dormant love for Krishna, and there is no means for attaining him other than awakening that dormant love. So, Mahaprabhu does not approve of devotional suicide, at least not in this case. So the connection here with these things here, with the next class, which we'll talk about actually sending missionaries, like Gaudiya Vaishnava teachers sending missionaries to the West, is of course at first the West came to India and made India aware of the West. And my Guru Maharaj calls, for example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur the first Western convert to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was brought up in the British school system, so he was kind of westernized, but then he came in contact with Chaitanya Charitamrita, which gave him the correct understanding of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then the urge to share that with everyone, including the Western world. So that is the connection. So that's where we will go next time. Sharing with the West. So I will end here. If anyone has a comment or question or anything, you're free to share now. Otherwise, we will end the session.
Haribol, Syamananda.
Haribol. Priya.
Hey, thank you for the class. I only have one very short comment. I just wanted to say that I really appreciated what you said in the kind of like in the beginning of your class about the external reasons and internal reasons for the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how even the external reasons, they were quite internal if you think about them more closely. So that was for me like kind of mind-opening part. So thank you for that. Haribol.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Syamananda.
Haribol, Krishna Kumar.
Yes, I just wanted to make a couple comments too, and maybe ask a question. I really liked what you said at the beginning about how Krishna reciprocates as much as you can give to him, and he gives to you, and that the gopis' love is beyond Krishna's being able to reciprocate, and love is its own reward. I really liked that part because it's that reciprocation, and that's, you know, the ultimate in Braj Leela, where we're reciprocating that love the gopis are with Krishna, and it just grows. It gets more and more. So I really like that point. Also, you were talking about how Krishna feels like he can't repay that debt, and in my notes that wasn't real clear, I was trying to write down while you were talking. That he pulls us in to help him repay his debt to the gopis, and then you talked about as recruits.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping maybe you could just talk about that a little bit more, so I can understand by recruits what you meant. I was thinking along those lines about how, you know, we go through a conversion process ourselves, and once we come to you know, reading the books and getting sadhu sangha and that. So anyway, if you could just maybe speak to that a little bit, I'd appreciate that.
The connection, like us being recruits and us having to go through the conversion process.
Yes.
Yes. So being recruited as like it's often talked about as camps. That there are camps in Vrindavan, like the camp of Srimati Radharani's Manjari, so the camp of the cowherd boys. Like Mahaprabhu coming into this world, he's recruiting us along with Nityananda Prabhu. They are recruiting us to kind of join some of those camps, specifically those that are servants of Srimati Radharani, like the Manjaris or the Priyanarma Sakas, who are servants of both Krishna and Srimati Radharani. And to do that, to join either of those so-called camps or groups, which is, of course, in a sense, it's all one group. It's all the Brajavasis. There is a conversion process we have to go through. It's because while it's easy to connect to Krishna, because he appears to be like us in so many ways, and the Brajvasis seem so human. My Guru Maharaj stresses that they are human-like. So it's very good that they're human-like, so that we can kind of relate to them. We find ways to make an emotional connection to them. At the same time, they are otherworldly. Here in this world, we are all simply put, here in this world, we are all self-centered, whereas in Vrindavan, everyone is Krishna-centered. So the conversion process, to go from being selfish to being servants of Srimati Radharani and Krishna, that is the conversion process, and it's both about converting our intention and converting our understanding. My Guru Maharaj stresses this, like you may have all the best intentions, but you will still have to learn knowledge. Like he gives the example of a mother with a newborn baby. They may have all the best intentions by giving food to their crying baby, but if the baby is crying out of something else than hunger, like maybe the child is crying from stomach pain, and feeding the child will make it worse, then you're not really serving. So you have to have both your intentions converted and your knowledge and understanding converted. I hope that helps.
Yes, it helps very much. Thank you. Sometimes words have, for me, like a different connotation to them. So I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding where you were coming from. And it's just interesting with, your next topic is missionaries to the West. So it's a conversion on all different levels.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting class. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Haripriya, and thank you, Murali. Also nice to see that you came on too. And okay, we'll end here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Sriman Syamananda Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Sadhusanga ki jai. Hari Hari.